Olivia Marques is a member of the class of 2019. Her extracurricular activities include the National Honor Society, DECA, Medical Careers Club, Christian Fellowship Club, debate team, and participating in both winter and spring track. Olivia chose to participate in TED Talks this year because it was something she's always wanted to do, and she knew that she would regret it if she didn't. And she also thinks that this will be a fantastic public speaking experience. Animal testing is an issue that Olivia truly believes in. In her research, she has found that animal testing is cruel and extremely unnecessary. Olivia plans to study veterinary medicine at Colorado State University in the fall and wants to become an advocate for animals and help animals all around the world. Please welcome Olivia to the stage as she presents animal testing in the beauty industry.
Animals are dying, and we're responsible for it. Today I'll be talking about animal testing specifically in the beauty industry. I'll be covering the worth of the industry, what is animal testing and who does it, and what we can do to prevent it. Now, the beauty industry, according to Forbes, is worth about $445 billion, with some of the bigger brands in the industry, like NYX, only worth about $100 million, Becca Cosmetics worth about $200 million, Too Faced Cosmetics worth $1.45 billion, and Olay, the biggest brand, only worth about $11.8 billion. To put this into perspective, Olay is only worth about 2% of the beauty industry's revenue every year. What I'm trying to get at is that the beauty industry is extremely big, and I wouldn't even come close to covering it all in the 10 minutes I have today. So all of the brands I will be covering are all owned by the 7 parent companies that are owned in the US. These 7 parent companies, Johnson & Johnson, L'Oreal, Estee Lauder, Shiseido, Coty, Procter & Gamble, and Unilever, own just about all of the biggest beauty and hygiene brands in the United States, like MAC, Gillette, and Maybelline. It's important to know which brand is owned by these 7 companies and whether or not they're cruelty-free and if it has a correlation. But first, we need to cover what animal testing is exactly. Animal testing, according to Cruelty Free International, is any sort of experiment or test in which an animal is forced to undergo something that is likely to cause them pain, suffering, distress, or lasting harm. And in most labs, no animal makes it out alive. Some of these tests include injecting or force-feeding harmful substances. This is the most common form of testing in beauty labs. Animals will have products injected straight into their eye or test patched on a piece of shaved skin. They're also exposed to radiation or forced to inhale toxic gases. Now you're probably wondering how many animals are actually in these labs in the United States. Well, it was estimated that each year there are about 25 million animals in the US in labs. That is equal to the population of Australia. A whole continent of people is equal to the number of animals that are in labs just in the United States. Imagine how many are in the world. And this number only includes what the US considers to be an animal. In the United States, only dogs, cats, bunnies, and chimpanzees are considered animals and make up this number. But if you actually add all of the non-animals, the birds, mice, rats, and frogs, the new estimated number is around 100 million. The 75 million non-animals in the United States are not protected under any regulation or law that pertains to animal testing. These 75 million can be tested on anything, anytime, anywhere, with no limits. Well, how does this relate exactly to the beauty industry? In 2018, there were still 30 big cosmetic brands that continued to engage in animal testing. And when I say that these beauty brands are big, I mean it. As you can see, brands like MAC, NARS, Bobbi Brown, even Giorgio Armani still continue to test on animals to this very day. Some of these brands could be your favorite, or you could even be wearing one of them right now. I know I am. I'm wearing a Benefit bronzer right now because I always thought they were cruelty-free and they always claimed to be on their website. But technically, they're not. And here's why. Now, brands like MAC test on animals themselves in the US or have a third party organization test for them. But most brands that were on that list on the last slide aren't considered cruelty-free because they sell to countries that require animal testing by law, specifically China. China has very complex animal testing laws, and this graphic right here explains it pretty well, but I'm still gonna break it down a little for you. Like America, brands in China have the option of testing on animals if they want. But if you import any goods to be sold in Chinese stores, they must be tested on animals. The only exceptions are if you sell the products to online Chinese stores and just ship them to China, or if you sell to Hong Kong stores. For some reason, Hong Kong is the only city in China that doesn't require animal testing. And even though many brands like Benefit Cosmetics claim to be cruelty-free, technically they're not, because they allow for their products to be tested on in China. Benefit Cosmetics even goes as far as saying that they are deeply committed to the elimination of animal testing. How can they be deeply committed, but allow for Chinese labs to harm innocent animals every single day? The answer is simple: money. Brands like Benefit Cosmetics are okay with selling to Chinese stores because they know they will make more money than just selling online. They would rather go against their own morals just to make the extra buck. So knowing that brands don't really care, what can we do as a society to help those 100 million animals? Well, there are a few animal testing alternatives, like cell cultures. Cell cultures are any human or animal cell that scientists can coax into creating a 3D structure like human organs. These can provide a more realistic way to test products. Another option is human tissues. Human tissues are any healthy or diseased tissues that are donated from surgery or, sadly, from organ donors. This method has greatly replaced rabbit irritation tests because scientists are actually able to create model eyes from the human tissue. And it's significantly cheaper to use artificially grown tissues versus live animals. One rabbit Dre's skin test costs about $1,800 per test, while a grown skin model costs about $850. A 24-month cancer test on rats costs labs about $700,000, while the embryo alternative on hamsters costs about $22,000. And finally, an estrogen test done on rats costs labs about $29,600, and its cell alternative using receptor bindings only costs about $7,200. It's no-brainer that in vitro testing, which is any cell-based testing, is more cost-efficient, but it is also proven to be more accurate and effective. According to the US National Library of Medicine and National Institutes of Health, they conclude that using in vitro testing instead of live animals is capable of being a more rapid, precise, and relevant way of testing. And right now, in vitro testing is most commonly used in testing the toxicity of drugs and chemicals, which is what most beauty brands are testing as well. Knowing all of this, why would brands or even countries continue to test on animals when there are cheaper and more accurate alternatives? Personally, I don't really get it, and I can't decide what a brand wants to do. So what can you and I do to make a difference? It's a lot more simple than you think. All we have to do is support the truly cruelty-free brands that do exist. Brands like NYX, Urban Decay, Too Faced are all committed to being cruelty-free and only testing on the alternatives I talked before. And if you're not sure which brands are cruelty-free, don't worry. There are some great websites like Cruelty Free Kitty, Ethical Elephant, and Flawless and Paulus, who made this graphic right here, who are all committing to helping people find truly cruelty-free brands. These animals need your help, and without us, they're just living a life to die from dangerous experiments. Thank you, and that's my key to the world.